Welcome back to Hiking with Kathleen. In today's video, we are staying at the Pinery. So Shannon and I are staying here for the next few nights in a rented Pinery cabin. So we're going to show you around, and this will give you an idea of the lay of the land if you were ever to come up to Pinery in the wintertime. Well, good morning. This is day 2 at Pinery Provincial Park. And yeah, I've been up for a few hours. Yesterday I did a really good walkabout once we got here in the afternoon. When you're in the cabins, you can't check in till 4 o'clock. Sometimes they'll let you in a little bit earlier, and you have to check out at 10 in the morning. So we came here early, intending to use as much of our time as we could. So at this time of year, this is mid-January, the only area of Riverside, the only area of the entire park that's open for camping is Riverside Area 1. So you'll see that they have 14 roofed structures. That's what RA stands for, roofed accommodations. So the 384 to 511, that includes the roofed structures. This is where you put your garbage and your recyclables. So everybody's responsible for bringing their own up to these bins. And today's weather is expected to be very similar to yesterday's weather. So the temperature ranging about, hovering around the minus 12 degrees Celsius range. And that's because of the wind. Otherwise, I guess the raw temperature is minus 5. But it's windier. I'm out here not far from the Ausable River. In fact, I can see it from where I'm standing. So I'm going to do a walkabout because tomorrow morning I'm leading a hike for members of my nature club. And so I'm going to case out this area. I'm really hoping to find some interesting tracks, perhaps coyote. Only saw a very faint set of coyote tracks yesterday, so I didn't film them. I'm hoping to see something a little better. But there's all kinds of other signs of wildlife. And if I were to delve into this a little bit more and go along and off the beaten path, I would be able to see even more signs of life. So that's what I've been trying to do, is go into the campground. In fact, I even visited a campsite that we have booked in June here at Pinery. So that was nice because I snapped some pictures on my cell phone and showed them to Shannon when I got in yesterday. So, all right, I'm going to take you on this, this hike planning mission that I'm on this morning. So as I'm taking a look around to make sure I know what services are open and available for the people that are coming out on my hike tomorrow, I see and checked, although there is heat emanating from the park store, so they have a heat source going, there is a sign there that says it's closed for the season. So that is not an option. I know that I've used these washrooms when coming here for day trips, but I wanted to check and make sure that in January it's open. So this is where, if you were to come here for the day in the month of January when everything else is closed except for that Area 1 Riverside, their comfort station is open, of course, but this one too is open for the public out in the park store parking lot. So this is where I'm going to have everybody park their vehicles when they come for the hike tomorrow. And that way they're not interfering with where the campers would normally park. And this is going to give us access to the area that I want to bring people to on the hike in the morning. So if you were coming here at any time during the regular camping season, There are canoes that are located at the park store bridge, and you can see there's an ice cream stand, and you can also rent bicycles. So you can rent canoes, kayaks, and bicycles, and the stand is right over here. So after walking people from where they would have parked their cars at the store parking lot, we're going to continue along the trail that is aligned with the Ausable River. I'll take them up the other way because I really do enjoy walking that way as well, along the Ausable. But you do get some road traffic for travelers that are heading into the park, even though it's minimal at this time of year. But this is, I like to give them the lay of the land, so I'll do that. But this is cool. This is where you're able to see the bridge that flows, we call it the store bridge. And there is a flow to the water, so it drops off. This is a lower level than on the other side. So that's why you can actually see some movement in the water. It makes you think that there's animals like beaver. And in fact, I spent time there last night. It was great because the sun was setting, so the sky was a brilliant orange after having been an overcast day. And I didn't see any beavers, but I was just curious as to if it would attract them because of the sound of the flowing water. So this is the pathway. You'll see my old tracks from before and others who have come along here. This is where I was kind of looking to see if there were wildlife tracks or other signs of animals that are living here during the off-season. So this pathway that I'm on just aligns with the road that leads into Riverside Campground. Normally during the year, this access road does not lead out to the main road in the park. You have to go through the Riverside Campground. And that's because they have to just make sure that there are registered park users that come into this campground. But this time of year, I mean, there's so little traffic. And so therefore there are very few staff members. In fact, the only staff member that operates a gate is at the main gate, checking for permits on your way into the park. They don't actually use paper permits anymore. Your plate number is registered. So when you get a permit, you can just skip that step and you can just register online to use your day pass when you're here in the park. And that way you're basically just stopping at the gate as you need to and letting them know that you're in on a day pass. But if you're looking to buy a day pass, they sell them to you up there at the main gate. A little bit buffered from the wind that's on the Ausable River because the Ausable is wide open space. Yesterday, by the time I was finished my hike, I was a little bit on the frigid side. And that's because I was walking most of the time along the Ausable, and then I cut into Riverside Campground on my way back, looking for tracks basically, but also I was buffered from the wind. So this will definitely be one of the interpretive stops I'll be making. Because there's a lot of evidence of beaver activity. Usually when I'm here during the growing season, if I'm camping, not necessarily when I'm here on a day trip, I'm able to see beaver activity and beavers themselves. And that's because I can align my visits out here at dawn and at dusk. With a lot of the water frozen, It's, beavers are active during the year. So the winter doesn't put them off. They're just active under the water, but their beaver lodges are heaps of branches that break the surface of the water where their nest is above the water level. And that's because, of course, they're mammals. They're air breathing, so they have to be above the surface of the water. I wasn't sure if I was hearing a bird, because sometimes trees rubbing together in the wind can make interesting sounds that make us think that they're birds. But anyway, yeah, so beavers are active during the wintertime. And sometimes you can see them if you are in the vicinity of a beaver lodge. You can see them swimming under the water if the ice surface is clear. But anyway, they need to eat during that time. And so as they prepare for the winter, they're busy cutting down trees so they can reach the succulent branches at the top. And that is what they will bring into their lodge in order, and stuff around the entrance of their lodge so that they'll have that to eat. The most nutritious part of the tree branch, besides the leaves themselves, which of course have a growing season, is the part that's directly beneath the bark. That's the only living area of the tree. So that's the part that they want to eat. And so they keep that all stored up, ready for the winter time. And that means that they don't have to come out onto the ice or out onto land in that vulnerable setting where they could get attacked by a predator. And the predator that they would have here in the park would be the coyotes. Okay, well, we'll continue on. So I've been back here at the cabin for probably the last hour and a half or so. I had my hike this morning, and I was planning out, the walk that I'm going to be doing tomorrow morning with the hiking group. But as it turns out, some of my batteries started to die, and it's just because I was out of the routine and I forgot to charge them up yesterday when I finished my hike into Area 4 Riverside. So I'm going to continue on that journey now, and now my batteries and everything is all charged up, so I'm going to take you along. So I'm back on the pathway that follows the Ausable River, and in this case I am heading in the south direction. I started off up just north of that store bridge. That was what I did this morning. But now I'm heading south, and that is bringing me further and further into Riverside Campground. So we left Area 1, which is where we're staying. And by the time I finish up this hike today, I'll be in Area 4 Riverside. And just tracing along the side of the Ausable River throughout that time. So the flurries have continued on, but this is where I just wanted to make a stop and show you something you might have seen, if not in Pinery, then maybe in other locations. This is meant to protect turtle eggs from predators. So during the month of June, this is when turtles are laying their eggs in southwestern Ontario. So by putting this cage over it, it prevents animals from digging up the turtle eggs, which are most vulnerable. And there is an opening which we can't see because it's covered in snow. And that is how the turtles actually escape when they do hatch, usually in September or so. They hatch by the heat of the sun, heating up the soil around them. Now, as we have a look, that's always been an inviting spot for me to go to, with that little park bench overlooking the Ausable River. And then what happens is, you can enjoy the ambiance from back here. Look who I found out on the trail. Of course, I didn't expect that we wouldn't see you. There's only one way to Riverside Area 4, and from where I was coming from. Did you end up seeing the cyclists?
Yeah, they were passing me.
Yeah, they're from Port Frank, so one of them stopped.
Oh.
Well, they both stopped to chat. I was just outside of the cabin at the time, and I followed their tracks, so I knew they were heading back this way. That's where they live, is Port Frank's. They were sorry to have missed you. I said, well, you can't help but run into you, because I said she's coming from Area 4, Riverside.
Yeah.
So did you see the campsite that we're going to be on in the month of June?
Oh, sweet.
Right?
And it's water access.
Right?
There's water access. I went right down there. And right now, I know we can't tell the water level in the spring,
Yeah.
but right now, it's just sandy bottom, like way out. So it's definitely possible to do water access from our site.
So what I did is I'd mentioned yesterday that I mentioned in the last clip that I took some pictures on my cell phone of that campsite, and because you basically have to reserve sight unseen. They give you a couple of images on the Ontario Parks website when you're registering, but it doesn't necessarily answer all of your questions. So anyway, I said to Shannon, I knew there was a great view of the water. And so there's a great view of the water, but Shannon went down and had a closer look and realizes it's water access. And the reason that matters is because this river is more like a big pond, and it has a sandy surface as opposed to rocks, which most rivers have. So we're going to bring our new canoe and launch it here in Pinery Provincial Park. And we're looking forward to that because it's such a beautiful body of water and lots of opportunity for us to be able to see wildlife and not have boats motoring around us. So that all of that excites us. And we'll be bringing our bikes too when we come back in the summertime, because they've got this really fantastic trail called the Savannah Trail that goes all the way around the park. So we enjoy that. So, and it also gives us a chance to get to the beach without having to worry about moving the vehicle and kind of squeezing it into a parking lot when it's already full with other beachgoers. So anyway, we're looking forward to that. And, I know it's wintertime and we're not really thinking about the beach weather, but we do like to plan far in advance. That's the first time I actually looked at the nameplate on the back of this bench and realized that this is a bench that was placed here in memory of Ron, nicknamed Wink Williamson. I worked with Ron. Yeah, Ron was a park warden at Pinery, down at Ipperwash and at Pinery. The two parks were run together under the same administration here at Pinery. Yeah, I did not know that this was here as a memorial to him, a tribute to Ron. Yeah, lots of great people have passed through the gates of Pinery on their pathway of their career. Ron was a farmer in the area, and so he would work here on contracts during the summertime, and Pinery was really good. Like the management team that we worked for, they were really good. They would schedule you around other commitments you had in your life. Like for me, I was teaching environmental ed at the school board in London, and I had this job first, so I was able to continue to keep this job for the entire time I was at the school board, because as much as this for me would have been full-time May, June, July, and August, what they did is they scheduled me around my school board hours in May and June so that I could retain both jobs and work weekends during that time of the year. But they did the same with Ron, where he had his work on his farm, and they scheduled him around that. Anyway, very interesting. I've sat on this bench so many times over the years when we've been camping here, and now I know the rest of the story. So I'm just heading back now to the cabin, and be a good opportunity to warm up a little bit. But I wandered through Area 3, Riverside, and it's surprising how memories come flooding back to you in terms of when I worked there. Not camping experiences, but when I worked there. So anyway, that was kind of an interesting experience. And then I went back out to that bench to have a look at the Ausable River from there, and I saw a merlin. Didn't get to film it, but I did film it when I was here in November. I came up here on a day trip, and yeah, it likes that spot. So if you're ever here, just keep that in mind. Just across the way from that bench is where I found a merlin today. But also, even more unusual and more out of season, is I saw a flicker. They typically migrate. So anyway, I was really surprised to see that. And so it was just sitting on a dead tree or a stump over on the other side. But yeah, that was neat to see. And when I was walking through Area 3 Riverside, I saw that red-bellied woodpecker. So that was neat too. All right, well, I'm going to continue on back to Area 1 and to the cabin. So Shannon and I are just doing a little bit of a drive around the park today. This morning I did that organized hike that I had mentioned I was preparing for earlier during our stay, and that went over very well. They really enjoyed having the birds eating from their hands. So we had the tufted titmouse, white-breasted nuthatch, black-capped chickadees, and we got to see other birds. But when we went into the visitor center, oh my goodness, they feed the birds all winter. So we got to see downy woodpeckers, red-bellied, as well as, tufted titmice. I realized that is the plural, not tufted titmouse, tufted titmice when there's more than one. And then, of course, we saw black-capped chickadees. So that was so cool. We were able to eat our lunch looking at those things just outside the window. So Shannon was at the cabin just doing some artwork, and, maybe that's something she can talk to you a little bit about later. I'll put the microphone on her for that, though. We're just doing a drive-about, just driving around the Pinery right now. So this stay at Pinery has been a really rewarding experience. These guys are not afraid of voices or anything like that, so I guess I'll keep this going. So what was really neat is, as I mentioned before, that I had that hike that I was planning for a nature club. And so the members came out today. There were 20 of us all together. And the hike itself was great. We had a chance to see some tracks. And then we went to the visitor center, which is where we had lunch, and arranged to be able to ask any questions that had arisen from the hike of the interpretive staff there. So that was good. Brought them back here before we went to the visitor center, to the site right across the way, where I asked if they wanted to see a tufted titmouse. And they all exclaimed yes. So I knew that there were some that were fluttering around here, around our cabin. And so I did an interpretive stop over there at the picnic table and took out the sunflower seeds, put them in everybody's hands, and sure enough, the birds came. So that was a big thrill for everybody, and for me it was just a thrill that the timing worked out, that they were cooperative. The birds were cooperative. So then got back here, and Shannon and I went for a little drive into Grand Bend. So that's always neat. We didn't get out of the vehicle. We just had a chance to look around and see what has changed since the last time we were here. And we're just kind of winding down our stay right now. So I've been out here filming birds that have been coming in for the sunflower seeds that I've placed out on the deck, and some of which have come right to my hand, which has been a really cool thing. I never get tired of that kind of thing. So I had the black-capped chickadees that were willing to take it right from my hand. Even though there's a whole mess of sunflower seeds on the railing, it was okay with coming right to my hand. And tufted titmouse, white-breasted nuthatch, and dark-eyed juncos. Those have all come around here. So anyway, so that was a thrill. And I think we're probably just going to wind down and enjoy our last night here, have some dinner, do another barbecue, and play our game. We're playing Rummy Cube. So the neat thing about that game is it's something that we can take with us wherever we go. And you had a chance to see Shannon when she was just finishing up her trip around on her cross-country skis. You know what? I'm going to get from you some impressions of whatever took place today, because you spent your time in the cabin and you were not out on the hike, but you were doing something else. So I'm going to switch the microphone over to you.
Well, Kathleen was out with her hiking group, Nature London. I stayed back at the cabin and did some artwork. I was looking at some of our old videos of Lake Superior and other places that, brought great memories to me. So I decided I wanted to paint some of them as a memory. So I was doing Beaver Dams Trail and Catherine's Cove from Lake Superior. So I was enjoying doing that today. And it's so inspiring being here. It makes me want to paint more. So 2 paintings in 2 days, that's pretty good for me to be finished them. So I tried to go out on my cross-country skis, but I need 5 more centimeters of snow. It's just, I was hitting some roots and stuff, almost wiped out. It was a little gravelly in spots, so yeah, but it was fun. I went all the way down to Riverside 4.
Okay. What I'm going to do now is show you what it looks like when you come and rent a cabin at the Pinery, and I'll show you the things that we choose to bring. Okay, this is the mud room. This is the room that you enter when you are coming from outside. They provide a coat rack, so this is great because you can have all of your wet clothing hanging out here. Thinking also when you come here in the summertime, this is where you can hang your towels after going to the beach, and everything is contained out here in the mudroom, which by the way is heated. Now that blue jug, that is what we use when we get the water supplied by the provincial park. We use that for washing our dishes. There's only one tap that works at this time of the year, and that's because all water sources have to be shut off so that it doesn't cause any freezing issues. That is located at the Comfort Station here in Area 1 Riverside. They provide the dishpan that you see and the drying rack that you see on the arm of the chair. That's part of the provisions they provide. They do not provide any cutlery or plates, pots, pans, nothing like that. The barbecue outside is propane fed, so you never have to worry about them running out at the wrong time when you're ready to grill a perfect steak. When you come here and you're planning to stay, microwave, there's a bar fridge. We're going to go through some of the things that are below the counter space here. All of the shelves are available for you to use. There's nothing on them. So any bowls or food and containers, those are things that we have brought. We bring our own jugs of water. It's just a 5-gallon container filled with our tap water at home. And then of course this is a USB rechargeable dispenser so that we can get the water out when we're filling the kettle or filling a glass. The reason we bring our own water, they have potable water here in the park, but there was a time when we came camping here, and it was actually at Pinery, and Shannon started to experience a little bit of swelling in her lips, and that's because there was a little bit of sulfur in it, and she has she had an allergic reaction to it. So from then on, we just always bring our own water. We generally bring a couple of these and then we go into whatever location has a store nearby and then we just buy more water. In this case, it was only for 3 nights, so we have a couple of jugs of water that we're going to be, that are available for us to use. So now, let's talk about the things that they provide that are in the cupboards below. So it's a bar-sized fridge, but it's nice to know that there is a freezer component. We bring an electric cooler, and in the electric cooler is where we have all of our beverages, and in this particular case we also have our condiments. So they're stored there so that there's no problem with storing enough food or having enough food space inside the fridge. This one is for all recyclables. This one is for garbage. You are responsible for bringing the bags of those items to the end of the road, and that's where there are bins for recyclables and for garbage. So you see that we have a towel. These are the kinds of things you have to bring. These drawers are empty. However, there's one thing that they do stock, and that is coffee filters. Down below, there's a coffee maker. So for that reason, they provide the baskets, you just provide the coffee and the water. Another nice touch is they provide a space heater. We have not needed that. They do provide an electric kettle. We provide our own, so just know you don't have to do that. So on this side of the room, we have tables and chairs, but what I want to focus on right now is the propane fireplace. This propane fireplace does an excellent job. You can control it by a remote control, and there's also controls on the wall. So you never have to worry about running out of batteries and things of that nature. It will provide a flame. We found we were so warm yesterday when we tried to raise the temperature a couple of degrees. So anyway, so we have it at a very comfortable, I think it's 24 degrees Celsius right now. The furniture that comes with the place, you've got a table and 2 chairs. You'll see in the very back corner, we bring our camping chairs. And the reason is they're a little bit more comfortable because they have give to them as opposed to using the hard bottom chairs. But it's just a personal preference. There are 2 benches that come with the 2 chairs and a table. However, I want you to see what we have just beyond because again, this is a personal preference. These cabins are not plumbed and therefore this is so that we can use this container for tinkles that are required in the middle of the night so we don't have to walk down the road to the comfort station. The comfort station will meet all of your plumbing needs. This building is not plumbed, but that's where you have your hot showers, of course flush toilets, and the building itself is heated. So this end of the room, well, we can call this our master bedroom. Here's what we have. We have a queen size bed, and again, there are no provisions for bedding. So you need to bring your own sheets, blankets, pillows, things of that nature. On the other side is a very attractive bunk bed system. So the bunk above is just a little bit smaller than the bunk below. But notice what they've done is they've got a nice little shelf for the bunk above. So if a person who's sleeping up there has a phone or, maybe they want their own flashlight, it gives them a space to use. And a ladder, of course, that's permanently attached. What we use it for is I have my camera gear, we have our clothing, we put everything that we need to store on that lower shelf. And as for the bench that is supposed to go to the table, we just keep that out front for our toiletries so they're easily accessible. Okay, there's one last thing I want to show you about what we bring when we enjoy a cabin here at the Pinery. This is the way that we prepare when we go camping. We always bring a solar power bank. This one happens to be a Jackery. It is not sponsored. It's something that we purchased ourselves. A Jackery is a solar generator, which means it doesn't require gas, but in fact, one of the ways to refuel it is by using solar panels. You can also charge it on your way to a venue by plugging into the cigarette lighter. And the other way is it requires a special adapter, but we can plug it directly into the wall. The reason that this is such an ideal thing to bring along with you when you're camping or when you're staying in a cabin or a motel or whatever is because you can always recharge things. In this particular case, it's a 1,000 watt system. We have another one at home that's a different brand and it's a 2,000 watt system. And that actually runs the trailer. This will run the trailer too for a short time. And we're talking about our travel trailer. So there are AC plugins, there are USB plugins, and this is what gives you the opportunity to keep your phone, your camera batteries in my case, things like that charged, or you could even run lights if there's a power outage. So this is something that we never leave home without if we are traveling to something where high winds is a regular thing when you're out in a provincial park. So that's the reason we like to bring this with us. So we wanted to give you a bit of a rundown of what the accommodations provide for you and the things you might consider bringing along besides, of course, the obvious, your clothing and your food. This is where we love coming here. It's just a little getaway for us, middle of the winter, and there's nonstop beauty all around you when you're out here in the forest at Pinery Provincial Park. So for what it's worth, we highly recommend it. Oh, that's nice. The electronic starter is still in good shape. So it fired up right away. So now we're just gonna let her heat up and then I've got all the food. So on the menu tonight, I'm having steak, Shannon is having salmon, and then we've got some green beans and potatoes. So I'm gonna get started with bringing those things out here now. So tonight we're going to dine on steak, and we've got potatoes and fresh cut beans. On this side, Shannon is enjoying her salmon. Again, we've got potatoes and fresh cut beans. So bon appetit.
Good beans.
There you go. Some nice medium. Should have been medium rare, but anyway, that's my fault. Medium steak.
Good.
So we're just heading home. We have been here a total of 3 nights and 4 days. And to be honest, I think that was just the right amount of time to do some winter camping in a cabin where it was like glamping. But we had a really nice time. It was great doing that hike and seeing all of the folks that were excited to be out here on a winter trail that drove here with less than ideal conditions, leaving their urban center and coming to the Pinery where there was very little snow. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on today's adventure at the Pinery. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday morning. Bye for now.
Am I allowed to come down now?